Welcome back to another episode of The Engine Room, where today I'm delighted to be joined by Mark Deadman, who actually works here at Finally Agency, and we're going to be discussing all things sales and marketing and understanding Mark's journey from the past 25 to 30 years in this sector. Welcome along, Mark. Thanks for joining me.
Thanks, Rob. It's been a good journey so far. I'm still enjoying it, so that's the main thing.
Good, good. Obviously, a little bit different format for me because generally I speak to marketers in the sector, but I thought it was really interesting just to kind of understand your journey and your take. You've obviously worked heavily in sales and media and been on quite a long journey really through the last 25, 30 years, ending up obviously here at an agency and kind of going on a whistle top store of like what that holds for us, what that can do for customers. So I guess if we can go back to the beginning and just kind of talk us through your journey, how did you end up getting here?
Well, my dad's an engineer, and he was always saying that get into a trade, from school, and he used to have a little drill that I used to mess about on in the garage, and then living near Brands Hatch, I got into motorcycle racing, so I was braking quite a lot because I was crashing, so had to make new products. And he sort of steered me a little bit about that. It's a really good industry. It moves really well. And then I sort of got into publishing. Through one way or t'other, and I joined a publisher in a catering industry, funny enough, and then I morphed into a company called Finley Publications. Some people might know that from old, which was the biggest publisher and database of lots of different magazines that are still out there. So I spent a long time with them on a thing called a Machinery Buyer's Guide, and it was the Bible for engineering. So I used to visit lots of customers selling advertising space in their end users as well, and being on the shop floor where my love is. So that was the first part of getting into sort of more the engineering manufacturing sector. And beyond that, it's very much, as you know, it's been mostly media, and I've really enjoyed that. But obviously the world changed, and I went into more digital marketing and video marketing, as you know, for a number of years. And I've really enjoyed that because you're really talking to engineers as it is, what the pitfalls, the problems, the finances of running a machine tool shop is all about. And it's been a great journey, but the world has changed from all different types of media, and there is a place for everything. But obviously coming here, I've learned a lot more in the last 2 years.
Yeah, no, it's really interesting because I guess, if you go back there, I mean, for those people that are old enough to remember, magazines and that kind of traditional media was mainstream, right? That was how you found things out. You might have gone to a magazine and offer. In any industry, there was probably 1 to 2 standout magazines that everybody like read without religion. It would arrive. You kind of almost look forward to that post with like, oh, that's this month's magazine of X, and going to read through it. I remember I used to read like Computer Buyer's Guide and some of those kind of computery ones when I was more into the kind of programming and computer side when I started. And they were like 40, 50, 60 page magazines, glossy, touchy-feely, and you kind of really enjoyed reading through them over a coffee. And then they probably would live on your desk for the next 2 weeks as you kind of picked through it. And to think that, that change from those days to now, whilst there is a place for magazines, and I think you can still get good content, the majority of people, as we're aware, read and get their consumed media from their mobile devices, their laptops, their desktops. So yeah, I guess for you must have been quite a seismic shift, going from all of those magazines and day-to-day selling, as in knocking on people's doors, having a cup of tea, building those relationships, to the point where COVID hit and the world's changed, and like getting into someone's office is like trying to get into a military base.
Well, yeah, I mean, a lot of people may still remember that magazines used to have a thing called a bingo card at the back of it, where basically all the adverts and some of the editorial, for instance, they would have a number, and you tick that number and send that card back, and that's how the salesman, let's say if it's machine tools or cutting tools, gets in touch with you. But look at it now, Rob. Yeah. We're talking about influencers on LinkedIn. Like Titans of CNC, for instance, a great story there, and the guy's giving something back to engineers to a certain extent, and he's spreading the noise about manufacturing is quite sexy. So yeah, it's been a massive shift, and it's been a big learning curve of actually joining yourself and the team at Finally, because what I thought I knew about marketing, I didn't really, if I'm honest with you, and it's just morphed into a really good partnership.
Do you think like 25 years ago when you were knocking door to door and selling advertising space, you could ever envisage a time where you would go onto a computer and watch a video of like an engineer that's almost like revered in the engineering world across the globe, like cutting something on a tool?
Never. I mean, this is the thing, because when I was brought up, we didn't have telephones.
Yeah.
So therefore, you used to use the landline at home and meet your mates somewhere. But it's the same with how it is now. I think we had this conversation the other day. Actually, I see like the role that I do, where my relationships over the last 30 years. You talk to a lot of people. You know a lot of people. Hopefully, you're respected by a lot of people. But I think in times to come, I think people have already made that big percentage touch points of what they want to buy. So the relationship is not going to be as much as it is quite now.
Yeah, no, I don't disagree. I think that the kind of influence of a relationship will probably have lesser part of the sales process. I'd hope that there's still a human relationship part to it. I mean, who knows, with AI and virtual reality, maybe less so, but at the moment that still exists, and I think that a lot of the kind of research, the advice, the referrals, that's now been done digitally, and makes sense to a degree. Like the world has opened up for us and many others. We're now working with global companies and managing to run campaigns across the globe, which is really quite exciting, but also quite surreal. I think we're sitting here in Canterbury, the bottom of England, a lovely place, but to think, what would we, probably even me, to say like 10 years ago, would I ever sit here and go, oh, we'll probably end up working with a company in Sydney delivering their campaigns? Like, no chance. So it's been quite a seismic shift for everybody, but I guess quite an exciting journey. And I think for you, having been in the sector for a long time, to see that change as well, not only in marketing and advertising, but also in just like how factories are built and how the kind of the super intense technology that's in these places. And I think engineering in the UK doesn't get quite the great reputation it probably should. I still think there are many amazing companies out there delivering unbelievable products and services. And I think when we go to factories, certainly, and shop floors, and you showed me around a few recently, they're like so high tech. I'd eat my dinner off the floor of some of these places.
Yeah, I mean, there's amazing. I've been lucky enough to visit some of the biggest machine tool companies in the globe, but mainly based in Europe. A lot of the Swiss and German companies, let's say, and Switzerland. It's amazing. I mean, I've been at companies where I've been sort of in my previous life doing an interview in a Starag. They've got a company called Droop and Ryan, and I was standing on a bed which rotates effectively, a twin gantry machine that could hold 350 tonne.
Yeah.
And that was going out to a military company that I better not say. But the other extreme, I've been to a company that actually makes the moulds for contact lenses. And the guy said to me, he had these beautiful two Kern machines, which are probably one of the most precise machines you can machine on. And he said, can you see the tool? I said, no, I can't. He said, well, come over here. And he took a hair out of my head, put it against the micro thing he was showing me, and he said, that tool is smaller than your hair. Wow. Because obviously that's what it's actually doing, is it's making the moulds where I think when you actually put your lens on, there's a couple of air pockets, so it sticks to your eyes. Right. Just amazing. So that's the length of the projects really and the products.
Yeah, no, well, yeah, incredible. So in terms of kind of onwards journey then, with your learnings, what advice would you be giving now to perhaps those companies that are maybe considering that change from traditional media or combining additional things? Like, as you said, you've seen quite a lot over the last 3 years being here. Like, how would you try and help those engineers understand it?
Well, I think it's all about education. You know, like most things in life, I think a lot of engineers can be set in their ways, know that they only want to use one machine, one tool, and those type of things. But I think even subcontracting companies that are offering the service, they're becoming a lot more savvy. They realise that they've actually got to start marketing themselves. You know, in my day, you didn't really have many marketing people within a subcontracting company. It was mainly for the products, you know, the machine tool companies, the cutting tool companies, let's say. So I think you know, the more and more I talk to people and just say, have you thought of this? This is what we've done for other customers, and now we're working with them from a global point of view. I think they tend to sort of think, well, maybe we should be following suit. Maybe there's elements there that we can pick out that you can help us.
Yeah, yeah, and I guess, you know, even for us, it's been a learning curve with some of these companies as to how to go about that, how to kind of show success, how to show return on investment. There's a fear factor for a lot of people of spending money. You know, I harp on and even spoke on LinkedIn recently again about spending 5% of turnover minimum on marketing. People just don't seem to want to do that in this world. Not everybody, and I'm certainly noticing a shift, but I feel like even just trying something a little bit different, you know, maybe reducing the size of a stand at a show by 40% and taking that spend to try a digital campaign, because, you know, the kind of traditional ways of doing things are shifting. Shows are great, we love shows, we go to shows, you know, we exhibit at shows, but there are another like 350 days of the year that you also need to be marketing. And if you put all your eggs in one basket and those 2 or 3 customers that you're hoping to meet don't turn up or don't come to the show, they could be sick, they could have family problem, you just don't know. You need to be able to reach those people and at least tell them that you exist throughout the year, and that's where for us digital marketing, you know, comes to the fore.
Well, I mean, you've bucked the trend a little bit. That, you know, a lot of big machine tool companies, they feel that they need to be seen, so they have to go to a show. Otherwise, other people start talking about them and say, well, why are they not at the show? But I think with some of the customers that you know, obviously we work with, you know, their decision is I'm getting more out of digital marketing, let's say, or a retained years worth of content effectively as well, rather than actually going down that path, because they can't show their machines the way they want to and they haven't got the budget for both. But I think there's a bit of a hybrid. I think there's still space for, you know, magazines, but linked more digitally with video content effectively, which is important. I think you know, there's less people in this sector that probably know what a real marketing agency do, and we've got 10 years of experience, and obviously you guys pick my knowledge as well. We open the door and we get it right, you know, first time. So I think everything has a bit of a place, but I think you need to be spreading those, or maybe spending a bit more in one area that is giving you a return, so therefore your budgets can increase.
Yeah, certainly. So as you've mentioned a couple of times, you know, it was quite a learning curve for you, kind of entering the doors here and seeing, you know, what goes on and how much, you know, thinking strategic elements. You know, it's not just a campaign appears. There's a hell of a lot to that. So what advice would you give to kind of other people, other, you know, marketers in engineering, or other people in sales that kind of want to educate themselves slightly? Where did you start, and what would you recommend?
Well, I knew you guys, as you know, probably from the Kingsbury day, because that was probably your first manufacturing or engineering client. And, you know, Richard always spoke very highly of you guys. And I thought, oh, there must be something there, you know, there must be something that's working for them. And then they pulled out from doing exhibitions because the way they want to be seen in the market. You've done a rebrand, name change, you know, I'm sure that was quite scary for Richard. So I suppose what my advice would be is that sometimes just get out your comfort zone. You know, I've been on a lot of you know, up in London. I've gone to a lot of different things that I wouldn't have done, to actually listen to how people have done it. You know, part of the marketing budget that you supply for the agency gives us an opportunity to upskill ourselves as well. So I think for me, and my age group as well, we're pretty well set in our ways sometimes, but I think over the last 2 years plus, it's really broadened my horizons about what can be achieved with sometimes very small budgets.
Yeah. Yeah, it's not always about spending tens of thousands of pounds. It's about being clever with that spend, and thinking who you're trying to reach, what do you want to tell them, where do they exist, and you know, how do we do that? And hopefully that's what we bring as an agency. But even if you're just considering that for yourself, I'd ask yourself those questions like, who is it that you're trying to speak to? What matters to them? Where am I going to find them? And if you can answer those questions, you can generally do a piece of marketing. So I always ask my guests, you know, their top 3 resources, and I'm wondering if you can share that knowledge with us. Is there a book or a podcast? I mean, obviously this podcast aside, that really stands out.
Um, Nothing specific. I mean, I because of my video background as well. I mean, I do watch a lot of videos rather than probably listen to more podcasts. Funny enough, but because I like to see people and I like to see people touching things and working on machines, and wow, that's a fantastic part, you know. So for me, video content is probably where I get a lot of the education. I watch people like Titan because I like the way he gives back. There's something back. But also, I think listening to the guys in the agency, because they've all got their specific fields. Okay, you know, the average age goes up when I come in, but the thing with it is that they've got all the ideas, but they need to know the technical aspects, and that's what I can do and have done and still doing, is that if I can actually get them to actually understand where a product fits into the market and how it benefits an engineer. So I think, yeah, video media is probably where I get most of my ideas and understanding, really.
Yeah, no, great. So we're coming towards the end of the episode now. It's been an absolute pleasure talking. I could talk to you for hours actually, and maybe we'll do some follow-ups. But yeah, I guess I always ask people, which is slightly weird to ask you, but you know, what's coming up for Finally and Mark for the remainder of the year?
Well, the next thing, a few weeks' time, we're at Farnborough.
Yep.
It's a big show for myself, because I helped launch a magazine called Aerospace Manufacturing many years ago, and you know, it's a great show with great people, with great products, and you know, you get a variety of different people. So therefore, got some nice meetings coming up there. Then obviously some periods a little bit quiet, as we know, but we're you know, because we've expanded our clients, you know, across the pond now, and we're growing, you know, in the US as well. I'm really looking forward to IMTS. So from that point of view, there's a lot of good meetings, good conversations going on now, and some of those will actually happen at Farnborough, because a lot of the American pavilion will be at Farnborough as well. So I'm quite excited about the next sort of 3 months. I think
busy.
I think at the moment, you know, the market's feeling a bit sort of summer period at the moment. If we don't have to spend, we won't. But I do think, from a positive point of view, I think September quarter 4, I think it will really bounce back quite hard, and into 2025, I think it's quite positive.
Yeah, fingers crossed. So yeah, that's been another episode of The Engine Room. And if you want to connect with Mark directly, you can reach him on LinkedIn. Obviously, I'm there as well. Thanks very much for joining us, and we hope you enjoyed the episode.